Good morning, everyone. Just sitting here thinking how good it is to be here with all of you. And with all of you online. We can't see you, but it's really good to be with you this morning. I am Reverend Ellen Quaadgras, serving in co-ministry with Kirsten Hunter, our Director of Lifespan Ministry, and in shared ministry with all of you. Whether you are joining us from home or right here in the sanctuary, as I said, it's good to be with you. Welcome to this place of heart in a time of hardness, to this place of compassion in a world that can feel so fragile, to this place of presence in a time that pulls us in so many different directions. Welcome to this time to breathe, to listen, and to reconnect with what matters most. This weekend, we honor Indigenous Peoples Day. I had hoped this service would be led by an Indigenous teacher and storyteller, but that will now happen on October 26th, so come to that service. Today, we do still hold that intention, though, to listen, to learn, and to honor Indigenous wisdom. Hold that close to our hearts as we turn toward compassion, our theme this month. Toward what it means to carry one another, to be the hands and feet and heart of kindness in the world. How we embody compassion not only as a feeling, but as something that we do, that reminds us we belong to one another. I'm grateful to be here this morning with Chris George, our worship associate, and for Susan and Jen for the musical gifts they will bring to us today, for Tim DeLay, who's helping make our service available around the globe. Oh, yeah, no pressure. And for Betty Olivolo, who will offer our time for all ages today, after which all of our children and youth are invited downstairs for religious education. They will be following Audra, Kate, and Coley. And by the way, we will get to hear the joyful sounds of our young people as we are experimenting with this new playground. The vitality of our youth is present in the sanctuary as we hear their voices and their wonderful energy. After the service, I hope you'll join us for coffee hour for treats, connection, and conversation. And if you'd like a question to ask someone who you do not know well, here's one that never gets old. When do you turn your heat on in the fall? It's important. Is it at the first sign of frost? Only once the calendar flips to November 1? Maybe you've had it on for months now? Or are you one of those hardy souls who says, heat? Who needs heat? I'm a New Englander. We have large print hymnals and headsets available if you would like either. The ushers will be glad to help you. A couple of announcements. For those of you going to the No Kings rally on October 18th, it's in Portsmouth at the Market Square. Thank you, Market Square, from 1 to 3, and we will have poster making downstairs in our fellowship hall from 12 to 1. So poster making from 12 to 1 next Saturday. Check your order of service for many of these things. So one of them is there's a book read this Wednesday. So check on that in here. Seacoast Promise is going to be making meals available, and their timeline is October 26th to November 1st. So read about how you can cook from the comfort of your own home to help with that. We have yoga right now in the afternoon, late afternoons, 5:30 at 73 Court Street. Tuesdays is all levels, but Thursdays is going to be restorative yoga from now on. So slow poses, that's on Thursdays. And Lost and Found, there's a Lost and Found downstairs of all of your wonderful items. I think we have about 25 umbrellas. This is the time to pick up your item, or perhaps think that one of them is yours. Either way, you get to take it today, because if you don't take it today, it will be taken to Savers or Goodwill or something along those lines. And we have one final announcement from our brand new Mission United team.
Good morning, South Church.
Good morning. Wow, what's with the rainbow hearts?
These hearts are a symbol of something exciting. Mission United, where money and ministry meet.
Ah yes, Mission United. Sounds powerful. Is that a new online giving tool?
Nope, it's not a new app. It's a new way of thinking. We're reframing giving as a spiritual practice, not as a budget line. It's about how money and ministry, our hearts and our hands, work together to make South Church shine.
So basically, it's where generosity meets joy and spreadsheets meet spirit?
Yes, exactly.
Nice, and I hear there's food involved.
Of course there's food. You bet. We're launching a new campaign, Fueling the Faith, Funding the Future, with a kickoff lunch on Sunday, October 19th. That's next week, right after worship. And if you could RSVP, that would be great for a head count, so we don't run out of sandwiches or cookies or grace.
Got it. So RSVP equals food, equals joy, equals mission.
Great. So remember.
So Mission United is where money and ministry meet. The kickoff lunch is next week, October 19th, after worship, so please RSVP. And to go against what we just said, you don't have to RSVP. Please show up regardless.
Yes. We just want the RSVP for a head count. We'd all invited, you're all invited, and we would all love to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita and Brian. Don't let anyone tell you there's no such thing as a free lunch. I think there is one next week. And finally, as we begin, we pause to acknowledge the land on which we gather. For thousands of years, this land has been home to the Abenaki and Pennacook peoples who cared for it with wisdom and respect. We honor their continued presence, past, present, and future. And we remember that compassion are not just about our circle today, but part of a much larger circle of life and history. May our time together deepen our gratitude for this land and strengthen our commitment to justice and healing and right relationship. As we hold that awareness in our hearts, we turn now to our musical invocation, a setting of a traditional Navajo prayer offered in gratitude and humility as we begin our service in this spirit of compassion.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
Today's chalice lighting was written by Reverend Laura Dobson. We light our chalice, symbol of our free Unitarian faith, sign of the spark of life in all living beings, fire of commitment to love and justice. As the chalice cup embraces the flame, may we hold one another in loving community. sharing our gratitude, our pain, and our hopes for our world. For we are co-weavers of the story of the universe, a web of intimate connections and infinite possibilities. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in reciting the mission statement printed in your order of service. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. This month is the month of a focus on compassion. My tendency is to notice compassion coming in my direction when I am feeling really bad about things. One of the worst of those times was in early October 2022, just over 3 years ago now. Within a 48-hour period, I had endured a stroke, and my wife had passed away after an extended bout with cancer. At the time, it felt like we were both heading for the exit. I knew my own health was paralleling that of Janice, my wife, and as I tried to take stock of where I was and what the next steps were, I felt unsure. I didn't tell a lot of people about the stroke because it seemed more appropriate that the spotlight was on Janice and the life she had created. I didn't know what the stroke held for me as I tried to put my life back together. In that first week after her death, I got a call from a musical friend who I had known for many years, Bob Moore. Bob runs the First Friday Coffee House at the Exeter UU Church, and we had often gathered at the Writers in the Round out on Star Island to write songs. Bob was checking in on the phone. He asked if he could come by and visit that week. Usually when I gather with friends, I think about planning it around an activity, like playing music or going hiking or catching a movie or having an adventure. So the idea of Bob just coming over to visit was somewhat novel. On the other hand, doing any kind of activity after the stroke seemed like a gamble I could not rely on. So I said, "Come and visit." So Bob came over one afternoon and we sat in the living room and we spoke about what was happening. And we spoke about life, we spoke about music, but mostly we didn't speak at all. Instead, we sat together in the quiet and were present together for an extended time. Losing one's partner of almost 4 decades does not foster idle chatter. For Bob and I, in that moment of quiet together, there wasn't a sense of impatience or of trying to find a topic to speak about. Instead, there was a quiet sense of meditative presence that left the feeling that this quiet that we were able to share was a gift. There was a connection to life and living as two humans who cared about each other. A gift that spoke to the value of real friendship. A gift that reminded me that there are others I cherish in this community. And a gift that spoke directly to our hearts about true friendship. The compassion that Bob showed to me that day has stayed with me throughout the time. The presence of another loving, living human being in my life, and especially in this time of unknown trials, left me with a sense of being cared for and a sense of hope. That hope has sustained me over these past 3 years, as has the hope I find in my community here at South Church. And now, please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn 298, Wake Now My Senses, verses 1, 3, and 5.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Renew my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
So are you guys going to come and listen to the story with me? I would love it. Don't you just love that they call it the, what is it, the playground? Oh my gosh. Is this too far away? Tell me when it's on. Can everybody hear me? Ooh, good. And I'm going to thank Soren right now for turning the pages for me. It's hard to do everything at once. And thank you for everyone that came down to listen to the story. Anyone else want to come? Adults can come too. Okay, so this story that we're going to read today is The Hero of Compassion, how Lokisavara got 1,000 arms. Sounds like an amazing thing. Once upon a time, there was a great being who sat upon a giant lotus flower that floated above the moon. We got it? Yep. His name was Avalokiteshvara, but we can call him Lokiteshvara for short. His skin glowed, his hair was long and black, and he had wide, beautiful eyes. Why were his eyes so beautiful? Because they were completely full of compassion for every being he saw. One day, when Lokisavara looked out onto the world, he saw all the beings scurrying, flying, dancing, and crying. His heart grew so large with love that it seemed as if it had no end. He made a vow right then. I will do everything I possibly can to help all beings and will never, ever give up. So Lokisavara began to help in all the ways he possibly could. Sometimes he appeared as a little boy or girl to play games with the other kids. Sometimes as an old man to give advice to the adults. sometimes as a bird or elephant to watch over the animals of the forest. Sometimes he would even appear as a bridge or a tree. More important, he would always show beings how to rest their minds and benefit others, and how each and every one of us is connected. We need to rest, don't we? It's a good thing that he was doing. Lokishavara worked for a long, long time and helped many, many beings. One day he thought, surely I've emptied the world of at least a little bit of suffering by now. So he decided to check. Even though he had helped countless beings, he saw so many who were still angry, still greedy, still confused, and many who still couldn't rest. He saw beings who were still fighting, and some who couldn't care less. When Lokishavara saw this, he was so upset he started to cry. He thought, I've been working so hard and for so long. I've helped so many beings, and yet it looks like I haven't made a dent at all. Maybe I should forget about others and just help myself. Since his promise to help others was the most important thing to him, how could he go on? When Lokishavara thought this, his heart broke into 1,000 pieces. And when his heart broke, his whole body broke too. Oh my goodness. Just then, his teacher, Amitabha, who was watching from afar, saw 1,000 pieces scattered everywhere and said, Lokishavara, don't give up your promise. Don't give up. As long as there is space, there will be beings. As long as there are beings, they will need help. As long as you keep your promise, you can help many, many more. So Amitabha picked up the pieces of Lokishavara's broken heart one by one and started to put them back together again. This sounds like a hard job. Let's try something new, Amitabha said. Some of the pieces of Lokishavara's broken heart became eyes, even more eyes to see all the beings. And some pieces became hands, lots of hands to reach out and help in lots of ways. And some became arms, so many arms to hold beings with love. Now Lokishavara had 1,000 arms, 1,000 hands, and 1,000 eyes. He even had 11 heads that could be seen in every direction. Because his heart had broken, he could now help even more beings than before, with the benefit that goes on and on past even the very end of space. So what do you think? Even though you might not have 11 heads or 1,000 arms and eyes, can you imagine helping whoever you see, letting your heart grow and even letting it break? Lokishavara shows us that with compassion, we can always pick up the pieces of a broken heart and be stronger, wiser, and even more loving than before. So what do you think? Can you guys show compassion for anybody you see, anything you see? Okay, well, now we're going to sing you down. I think that was the last page, wasn't it? The end, yes. Sing you down, and you can enjoy downstairs.
During the month of October, our collection will be shared with the Al-Jawad camp in Gaza. Al-Jawad camp supports displaced children with meals, education, toys, creative activities, and much more. At a time when outside organizations are not able to get assistance into Gaza, the work of groups like Al-Jawad become even more critical. And as of this morning, reports were still in that getting aid into Gaza was problematic. So there is still continued demand for this assistance. Please give as you are able. The offering will now be greatly received.
We give thanks for this precious day. We're all gathered here and those far away for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
I want to begin our time of community prayer and reflection with a note that I received from Susie Hamlet. Here's the note she wrote me, and I'll read it to you. Susie Hamlet's been having some physical challenges she's been struggling with. To all you wonderful friends, we and our family say many thanks for your support and wishes. I hope to be back soon. Let us now gather our hearts and minds in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of life, we give thanks for news of a pause in violence, that hostages are returning home, for news that babies, mothers, fathers, our siblings in Gaza can wake and know that, at least for this moment, the sky is not falling on them. The war will not take them, not today. And still, as Pastor Jackie Lewis wrote in a blog post this week, the work is not done. Healing cannot be declared by diplomats. Peace must be tended like a garden. It needs watering, witness, and will. We pray for that will, for hearts brave enough to see how fear drives violence, the grief and trauma that harden into hatred, and the longing beneath it all to be safe, to belong, and ultimately to live in peace. We remember, too, that longings for home and safety can live side by side with the willingness to harm, and that this struggle runs through our own history right here in this country, where the drive to possess centuries ago left wounds that have not healed. We honor all Indigenous peoples whose care for the earth reminds us that belonging is not ownership, and that lasting peace is not built through power. Spirit of compassion, teach us another way. To live without taking more than we need. To care without controlling. To seek belonging that does not push anyone else out. Help us tend a garden of peace with courage, humility, and care for all who call this earth home. Amen. As the music begins, I invite you into a time of reflection. If you wish, you may come forward and light a candle for peace in all its fragile places, for the people and places on your heart today, for sorrow and for joy, and for all who long for safety and for home.
Today I'm reading a poem by Naomi Shihab titled Shoulders. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling.
Many years ago, I gave as a gift a little 8-inch square ceramic tile with a colorful etching of 3 women holding hands while dancing in the rain. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it said. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Nice, right? I thought so. Many years later, I noticed the tile had cracked in a couple of places and been glued back together. I have no idea what happened to it, and I never asked, but reflecting back on it now, I found myself thinking, dancing in the rain sounds like a nice idea when you're buying gifts in a store, but when you're actually in the rain, it's one of those well-meaning suggestions that could make you want to throw things. Although I don't believe that particular piece of artwork was subjected to an angry fling across the room, I have had experiences, and maybe you have too, that have shown me how trying to help with another's pain, well-meaning though I might be, can be fraught. It's not always easy to know what to do. I suspect we've all had times when well-meant questions, supportive comments, or helpful suggestions for someone caught in a metaphorical rainstorm were met with silence or a shrug or a slammed door or worse. We are fragile, as the poet says. Handle with care. We don't always know how to be there for one another. When someone we care about is going through a hard time, emotionally, physically, relationally, financially, whatever, we don't want to watch them suffer. We want to fix it, to make it better, to do something, and we don't always know what. The Dalai Lama has said, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. And yet the word compassion means to suffer with. What does that mean? How do you do it? I'm reminded of an old story about a guy who falls into a deep hole. A doctor walks by, writes a prescription for him, throws it in. Then a priest walks by, writes a prayer, and throws that into the hole. The guy is still in the hole, helpless, when finally a friend walks by, and jumps in the hole. "What are you, nuts?" the guy says. "Now we're both in the hole." The friend replies, "Yeah, but I've been down here before, and I know the way out." It often seems like throwing a little advice or a prayer into the life of someone else should help, and sometimes it does, but it's nothing like jumping in there with someone. Sometimes we need to be fully present to another's circumstances, to see what they see, feel what they feel, before we can even begin to know what to say or how to be helpful. I saw a striking video on YouTube once that began with a quote from our own Henry David Thoreau. "Could a greater miracle take place," this quote says, "than for us to look through each other's eyes for an instant?" The video shows, one by one, people simply making their way through a hospital. The kind of people we might see anywhere, any day, some looking tired, some worried, some happy. But in this video, you could see their life circumstances pop up in text next to them as they move. A man in a wheelchair comes through the doors of the hospital with the words, "Has been dreading this appointment, fears he waited too long." Just then, a younger man walks by looking tired but relieved as the words, "Wife's surgery went well, going home to rest," pop up on the screen. We pan to a woman and a child as the little girl stops to pet a guide dog. "Husband is terminally ill," the words say next to the woman. And then, next to the child, "visiting dad for the last time." The video continues. Different people, different circumstances, some joyful, some very hard, all transparent to the viewer. Finally, the concluding words appear. "If you could stand in someone else's shoes, hear what they hear, see what they see, feel what they feel, would you treat them differently?" In a world in which we are all taught to appear strong and invulnerable, and in which we are frequently rushing to finish this or that, we can miss an awful lot when we don't have hovering text to show what's going on. There are so many kinds of circumstances the people around us may be facing, circumstances of which we might never be explicitly aware. Still, when we take a moment, slow down, and wonder, we come back to ourselves and our common humanity, to what's going on under the surface, in the heart, in theirs and ours. I wonder what it would look like for any of us in each of our lives to bring compassion to the realities of our human frailty. Maybe set some intention to handle ourselves and each other with care. It might look like writing a supportive note to someone you know going through a hard time. It might mean recognizing gently what is hard for us. Maybe it includes doing something today that feeds your spirit and your soul, or encouraging someone else to do that. There are many possible ways to bring compassion to the places where we could use it. We must hear the hum of deep dreams, Naomi Shihab writes. The ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. Compassion is about connection. It is about seeing, listening to what's on the surface and also to the hum underneath. The longings and hopes, the silly and serious to the difficult and beautiful. We must listen and be willing to take in what we hear. I picture that father, his son breathing in his ear. I see him taking that in, sharing a bond, a dream, a future. Sometimes it's wonderfully easy to experience that common human bond with another, to recognize we are one and we share a common dream. Father and son, friends relaxing together, a group working to a common purposeful goal. Expanding the circle of people with whom we can share that deeper dream, that can take a little more doing. Certainly, our culture does not teach us much about how to do this, and the effects are glaringly apparent in our time. But I'm not even just talking about those on the other side of a political spectrum here, but anyone with whom we do not see eye to eye. That family member, the coworker, the person whose choices make no sense to us. Learning to reach across those divides, to imagine our way into another's experience takes practice. And sometimes it's the youngest among us who can show us how. A couple of years ago, I heard Eric Dawson, executive director of an organization called Peace First, talk about his work helping elementary-age children build skills for a lifetime of healthy, positive bonds. Through games and role plays and relationship building exercises from pre-kindergarten through 8th grade, his organization helps young people connect across great differences, even in challenging circumstances. He tells the story of a 3rd grade class that was being bullied by the 8th graders in their school. You can imagine what that must have been like, with kids easily twice their size, whether it was intimidation, name-calling, pushing, or something else. It must have created a climate of resentment or fear or worse. These 8 and 9-year-olds, though, somehow imagined their ways into the minds and lives of those middle schoolers, where the temptation must have been to push back, to get mad, to call for punishment. These 3rd graders took a different tack, asking themselves what might be going on for these young teens, what they might want or need, and what difficulties they might be experiencing or what they might be afraid of. The young children decided ultimately that these 8th graders were probably under an unusual amount of stress as they anticipated leaving their school and transitioning to high school. And they recommended yoga. I love that. They then convinced their, as Eric put it, conservative 72-year-old Catholic nun teacher to go along with the plan, help them find volunteer yoga teachers, and start a last period program for all students in their final year at the school. All I can say is, wow. How often do we go out of our way to arrange something positive, relaxing, and nourishing for the people in our lives who are causing us trouble? And what a world it would be if we did. Approaching others with compassion, imagining our way into their lives, and coming up with what they might need can be powerful. And so I wonder this month what it might look like to practice bridging differences with all kinds of people with whom we might not always feel compassion. What might be going on for them? How might our genuine support help them and our larger hopes? Maybe there's something concrete we can do that will make a difference, change a situation, make it possible for both you and the other person or other people to hear the hum of your common dream deep inside. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing, the man carrying his child, if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. We must carry each other. There's a wonderful story of a man who once stood before God, his heart breaking from the pain and injustice in the world. "Dear God," he cried out, "look at all this suffering and anguish and distress in our world. Why don't you send help?" "I did send help," God responds. "I sent you." There is much in the world that needs our help, our compassion. It can feel overwhelming. Like that story of the countless beached starfish that one person can't possibly throw back in time. But it can also feel hopeful when we say to ourselves, my work made a difference to that one, and that one, and that one. I think of the difference Bruce, your friend, made for you, Chris. I think of the difference a meal can make to someone just home from the hospital. I think of the difference it makes to stand up for the rights of immigrants here on the seacoast, and you can bet this one and this one and this one are noticing. And the beauty of it is, helping makes a difference to us, too. I love a quote from Maya Angelou. "I have found that among its other benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver." Pema Chodron, Buddhist nun, tells the story of Bernard Glassman Sensei, who does a lot of work with the homeless in New York. He said that he doesn't work with the homeless because he's such a great guy, but because going into the areas of society that he has rejected is the only way to make friends with the parts of himself that he's rejected. It's all interrelated, she continues. We work on ourselves in order to help others, but we also help others in order to work on ourselves. And if we are wholehearted about wanting to be there for people without shutting anyone or anything out of our lives, we may find our image of ourselves as compassionate people is sorely challenged. The more you're willing to open your heart, the more challenges come along that make you want to shut it. And yet, it is an upward spiral. Wayne Muller writes that when we attend to ourselves with compassion and mercy, more healing is made available for others. And when we serve others with a generous heart, great healing comes to us. What better way to direct our energies? What more satisfying way to spend our time? What better way to learn about ourselves and our world than to practice compassion? Where is God sending you? I invite you to reflect on that question as we move into our closing song. Written by Brian McLaren, a Christian pastor and theologian. The song begins with the line, "God has no body here but ours." Now, you might hear that as a statement about God, or you might hear that as a reminder that love, care, and compassion, whatever name we give them, become real through us. So as we sing these words, you might let God and love mean the same thing. So, yeah. So you don't know this song yet, but you're going to learn it. It's a quick song to learn. And yeah, you can join in whenever you feel comfortable. And the words are in your order of service. No body here but ours, no hands, no feet here on earth but ours. Ours are the eyes through which God looks on this world with kindness. Ours are the hands through which love works. Ours are the feet on which love moves. Ours are the voices through which love speaks to this world with kindness. Through our touch, our smile, our listening ear, embodied in us, love is living here. So let us go now, inspirited, into this world with kindness. Okay, we're going to sing it through one more time. So feel free to rise in body or in spirit. And sing if you feel comfortable, and maybe even if you don't feel totally comfortable yet. God has no body here but ours, no hands, no feet here on earth but ours. Ours are the eyes through which God looks on this world with kindness. Ours are the hands through which love works. Ours are the feet on which love moves. Ours are the voices through which love speaks to this world with kindness. Through our touch, our smile, our listening ear, embodied in us, love is living here. So let us go now, inspirited, into this world with kindness. Let us go now, inspirited, into this world with kindness. Amen.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Before I share our closing words, I just want to offer you that after the postlude, I invite you to turn to a neighbor, ideally someone you do not know well, and maybe talk to them about your heat, or maybe something about the service, like when someone carried you and what that taught you about kindness, or some other topic that you come up with. As we close, I return to the words, the poem that Chris read earlier, words that hold this whole sermon in one image of care and connection. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. May we hear the deep hum. May we handle each other with care. May we carry each other. May it be so. Amen.